Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today I'm inside the very luxurious and very premium and very comfortable and very powerful Range Rover Autobiography. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I mentioned a lot of veries earlier. That's because this car is very comfortable. It's a Range Rover. It's built to be. You've got air suspension. You've got comfortable seats. You've got a beautiful leather interior. I also mentioned that it's very powerful because up front you've got a 4.4 litre turbocharged V8 engine putting out 390 kilowatts and 750 newton meters of torque. I also mentioned that it's very premium and luxurious. That's because it is. I've got wood trim on my steering wheel. I've got proper wood grain. I've got aluminium dotted all over, even on the paddle shifters. And it's filled with technology too. But before we get into that, let's talk about the power. Now yes, it's powered by that 4.4 litre V8, and let me tell you, this car is very heavy. It's around 3.5 tons, but when you can get to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.7 seconds, you generally then don't think about the size and the weight of this car because it feels so nimble, and depending on what drive mode you're in, the car will adapt accordingly to make it either sporty or comfortable or somewhere in between. This is a very, very nice car to drive. And then from the exterior, this is a beautifully designed car. But what I love about it is how smooth this car looks, because you've got long lines, you've got roundness, but you also still maintain that square boxy Range Rover style that it's always had. Because if you look at the front of the car, there's no bumpers popping out, even on the rear of the car either. The headlights are integrated smoothly, even from the front to the back as well. It's a stunning looking car, and with Range Rover still being famous for that floating roofline, they've still been able to keep that. So it still looks like a Range Rover, and they've kept that DNA throughout the designs and every generation. And to chat more about the interior styling and all of the premium materials used, this car is wrapped with leather from front to back, from top to bottom. Everywhere you look, there is leather. On the dash, on the side of the doors, on the center console, on the roof liner. It is everywhere, and I absolutely love it. It just exudes Range Rover everywhere you touch and feel. And to add on to that, as I mentioned, this has also been optioned with the wood trim. So here on the center, you've got a matte wood trim finish where you can see all of the wood grain. It is so beautiful. I love it, and that carries through onto the front here as well. But the steering wheel has also been wrapped with wood. So this took a little bit of getting used to having such a smooth steering wheel, but I like it, and that it's also contrasted with this leather too, with the stitching. It's a beautiful feeling steering wheel. And again, just being able to feel this and control this Range Rover with it, it just reminds you that you are driving something special. And talking about driving, this car is very, very comfortable. And not just from a seating point of view, because I think that goes without saying. It's a Range Rover, it has to be, because these seats are electronically adjustable. They've got 3 different memories for the seat settings. They're cooled, they're heated, they're massaging. They've got everything that you need from a premium SUV or a Range Rover like this. But the comfort goes beyond that, because you're able to sit in a very nice and comfortable driving position. And something that Range Rover and Land Rover products are famous for is this high seating position. It's almost like you're in a captain's chair vibe, especially with these little armrests. You sit above all the cars, and you definitely feel like you are royalty, because you know that this is what the royalty likes to be get traveled in. So you definitely feel like you're part of their family in this. And then the rear seats. Now this is the long wheelbase version of the Range Rover. So the best way to tell you about what's happening back here is to sit here and experience it like any other person would. So I'm getting driven around. Now, what is the first thing that I can see here? Now, firstly, I've got a nice little entertainment screen in front of me where you can also input different HDMIs, so the kids can watch things, you can watch something. This is pretty cool. And then looking at the side on the door here, you've got all the controls you need. So here I can obviously adjust my windows. I can also adjust the blinds. So if I want to block out people or block out the sun, I can do that all from over here. I can also adjust my seat. So I can move my seat forward, I can move my seat backwards, I can tilt it, and it's got 3 different memory functions, each seat. So all 4 seats in this car have each got their own memory functions for 3 different people. And not only that, but they're also heated, they're also cooled. Oh, the list just goes on. And speaking of that, you've also got dual zone climate control here in the rear. So each passenger, depending on what they like, they can set their own environment, which is pretty dope. You've also got this full panoramic sunroof that comes through into the rear as well. So you're getting all of this nice natural light in here too. So that's quite nice. And the finishes and the quality, just, it's outstanding. I mean, you've got leather on the headliner, you've got leather on the doors. There's leather and wood everywhere. But the best thing about in the rear is this over here. Press the button and it slowly comes down to reveal all of your extra little hidden secrets. Now firstly, not only is it just an armrest, but you've also got storage in here. So you lift this up and you've got some storage for your phone, a pen or anything like that, because you need pen space. You're doing business transactions back here. And if you lift that up, you've got storage, and that's where you would input your different HDMIs, and you've got USB Type-C. Now once that's closed, you also have your own screen. So here you've got your own little infotainment where you can adjust your seats, your climate, the lighting, the blinds, everything. You can do everything you want that the person up front can do, you can do back here, because you're essentially the owner of this car. So you want to be in control of everything at any given time. But you're probably asking, where am I? Yo, this driver's in a rush. You're obviously asking, where am I now going to store my coffee or my cups and that sort of thing? Well, that's over here. By simply pressing this button, this is now going to slide forward, which is going to reveal your cup holders. Yeah. And once that's open, which takes a while, you can then push that forward and you've now got 2 cup holders to enjoy. So this is the rear of the very cool Range Rover Autobiography in the long wheelbase version. I could get very comfortable back here. Hold on, I've got to put this back. It'll eventually get there. Nice. But the comfort definitely comes from the suspension, because that's where you're going to feel it the most. Now here you've got adaptive air suspension, so not only is it absorbing more of the bumps than before, but it's also adaptable. So if you're just driving in standard mode, the car's going to maintain a certain height. If you stop the car and get out or get back in, it's going to lower to an excess height, an access height, and then once you go off-roading and you select those modes, the car's going to lift itself up to give you more ground clearance. And all of this being part of the air suspension, it's a lot more forgiving and gives you a much smoother and a little bit of a wafty drive, which you need from a luxury car like this. And especially with the weight, you definitely need a suspension that's going to be reacting quickly to manage that, and it definitely does. Let's feel the beast. Oh, damn, this thing moves quickly for the size of it. But I mean, I've got to give thanks to the big engine up front here, which is also from BMW. So if you didn't know that, now you do. I know I touched on the exterior design, but now I want to take you in detail around the car to show you exactly why this thing is so stunning. Now hopefully the sound of the fan isn't too much, but it's just cooling down after a bit of a zesty drive. But anyway, getting into the looks of this is what I was talking about, of how nice and sleek this car looks. Like, there's barely any bumpers showing here. Everything is just smooth, and the lines continue from the front all the way to the back. I mean, look at that. That is one solid, flat, straight line there, and that continues through this window too, because as you can see here, it is flat all the way down there. There is nothing interrupting the flow or the design lines of this car. It is stunning. And the way that these also can just get tucked away, shoop, makes this line even flatter. It's a seriously good looking car, and together with the flat headlights, this part in front here, the grille, the Range Rover badging, and then there's these, the massive 22-inch wheels to give this car all of the stature and road presence that you expect from a Range Rover. And with this being the L, or the long wheelbase, you can just see how much extra long this door is here. Obviously giving you more room inside there for your passengers, but yes, this is a long car. But a good thing is that it does have rear wheel steering, so it does make maneuvering this car around very, very easy. And then looking at the back here, this is obviously also all new. So here you've got your tail lights that light up, so it obviously looks black now, but when the car brakes or when the lights are turned on, how cool is that? But this car just looks beautiful. White on the bottom, black on top, the black accents over there, the silver at the bottom here. And again, they're not trying to show off with fake exhausts. There are exhausts at the bottom there. I mean, they've got quad exhausts, as you can see here, one on that side and one there. But they're not trying to show off. This isn't the SV or the SVR. This is just your standard Autobiography. But underneath all of this, you've got an extremely potent car. But man, this is a beautiful Range Rover. Now, Range Rover has definitely not skipped a beat here, because not only are you getting a luxurious and beautiful exterior and interior with all of the luxury touches that you need, but you've got all of the technology to match as well. Because in front of the driver, you've got a digital display with different themes and settings that you can change. And you've got their famous Pivi Pro infotainment system here, which is a nice curved display. It's very nice to use. This interior is very ergonomic too. So everything is in perfect reach. You've got what you need where you need it. And they haven't also just chucked all of the oh my gosh, I've lost my words, the climate control into the infotainment here, because they've kept that separate. And not only have they kept it separate, but they've kept it very modern too. And not in a way that's complicated either, because you've got two dials here, which you have on most of your other Land Rover products. And if you pull the dial forward, you can adjust the fan speed, but if you push the dial in, you can then adjust your heated and cooled seats. So lots of function down here, and it is actually very easy to use once you get used to it. So a pretty good system that they've implemented here, which also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and is linked to your 360 camera system. And obviously this is a very crisp and high quality display, so you've got the cameras to match that, giving you a very good, clear picture when you're looking through your cameras, so you definitely won't be missing anything. You're also equipped with all of the safety tech that you need as well, which you expect from a car like this too. So you've got forward collision warning, which will detect if a car in front of you has braked or not, so it will then alert you or brake you accordingly. You've also got the lane keep assist and the lane centering, as well as rear cross traffic alert that's going to notify you if you're reversing, if cars are coming, so that you don't reverse into someone, and you can always stay at a safe distance away, because this is a big car, so you are always going to miss something, so it's definitely got your back. And then talking about the practicality and space, and I think that that's just a given. With how big this car is, there should be a lot of space, and there is. Not only do you have two different cubby holes here, or two different glove boxes, one on top, one on the bottom, you've got huge bins here in the doors, and you've also got space here in the center console, that when you open up this little section and you move the cup holders away, you've got a huge bin down in the center here, which is almost like a little secret bin. So if you don't tell people about it, they won't know that you've got stuff hidden down here at the bottom. You've also got another section that you move this beautiful wood grained little panel away, and you've got some more storage with USBs and wireless phone charging. And you'd also expect the boot to be big, which it actually is. And a cool thing about this is that this has also been spec'd with a full-size spare wheel. A full-size spare wheel. So, I mean, look at the size of these things. And you've got one of them in the boot there too, which is great. But something cool about that boot is that you've also got you can also operate it in sections. So if you're putting things into the boot, but you don't want them to roll around the entire cavity there, you can lift up a section and it keeps your groceries nice and tidy and they won't roll away. That's clever thinking. But also the tailgate serves as a seat. So if you're at your horse racing events, or you're at your weekly polo, you can sit back there, just watch everybody, and then when you're done, click the button at the top there, and both of the doors will close automatically together. Like I said, Range Rover has definitely not forgotten about anything here. And all that power is put through an 8-speed automatic transmission, which I feel works really well. It generally knows which gear you need to be in at most times. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag when pulling off or when you're in second and you're needing to just drop a gear slightly. There's a bit of a delay there, but once it's in the right gear and you put your foot down, this thing just goes. And it goes without saying that this Range Rover is equipped to go anywhere. It bears the Land Rover badge, so it should. And thanks to its terrain response system, this car will automatically detect what terrain you're on and adjust itself accordingly to give you all of the grip and traction and ride height that you need to overcome any obstacles. Now, I don't think you're going to be taking this off-road, but just bear in mind that if you do need to, this car is more than capable to do that. So we've spoken about the engine, we've spoken about the performance, and we've spoken about how heavy this car is. Now, all of that has an effect on the fuel consumption. But before I even do that, the question I want you guys to answer down in the comments is, if you're buying a car of this caliber with this type of engine, does fuel consumption mean anything to you? Let me know down below, but I'm going to tell you what it gets, right? So Land Rover does claim 11.8 liters per 100 kilometers on this car, which is very high, but it's expected, right? It's a 4.4 litre turbocharged V8 engine. Take that with a pinch of salt, because I'm not getting anywhere close to that. And I've been driving this now for a week. I've been driving it relatively well, believe me, and I've been getting about 17 litres per 100. It hasn't come down much lower than that at all. So we've spoken about the quality, we've spoken about the premiumness, we've spoken about how good it looks, the world-class design, this impeccable drivetrain, and everything that results in what this Range Rover Sport is. But what are you going to pay for it? So you're looking at around 4.5 million rand, just under 4.5 for this Autobiography L, right? It's not the 7-seater, it's just the 5-seater, and that's what you're going to expect to have to pay for this type of car. Now, this has been kitted out with all of the extended leather, the full-size spare wheel, and I'm sure a whole bunch more stuff. And I'll try and list on screen what all those optional extras are if I can get hold of them in time. So this car is probably going to sit well over it's going to probably sit well over 4.5 million rand for everything that this is, including the little fridge down here, which I haven't spoken about yet, but you can keep your drinks nice and cold. So yes, that's the price you're going to pay for this car. Now again, head down to the comments. What do you guys think? Our car, there's not much to complain about besides for these plastic stalks. If there was one thing I would change on this car, it's these plastic stalks here that feel like they come out of an entry-level little car, a Picanto or whatever the case is. I don't know why they're here. It's something you touch throughout your entire driving experience in this car, and then you get to feel this weird plastic after you've been touching wood and leather and stainless steel. Yeah, that's the only thing I'd change. Now, if you're in the market for a Land Rover or a Range Rover product, then go check one out on changecars.co.za. They're a website that sells new and used cars, but the best thing about them is that they vet and check every single dealership that sells cars on their website, so they know exactly who they are and what they're selling, keeping them in full control of the quality of cars that people are buying from them. Now, their website is also a hub for everything automotive. So you can go watch car reviews, you can read articles, you can even bring them quotes from dealerships that aren't on Change Cars, and not only will they match the quote, but they'll beat it too. So go check out changecars.co.za. They're also a proud partner of Greg Dennis Reviews. So there we go. Now, onto the verdict in the form of the GDR test. Should you get this? Should you drive it? Or should you remove it from the list of cars that you're looking at? Now, for me, I would go and get it. If I'm in the market for a super uber luxurious 4x4 SUV, I'd look no further than this Range Rover Autobiography. We've spoken about the pricing, we've spoken about what you get with it. Now, if I was in or came into this sort of money, I would not even hesitate to not get something different than this. So go and get this Range Rover Autobiography if you can. Now, thank you so much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I showed you enough of this really cool Range Rover. And if you did, please will you drop a like below. And if you want to see more videos like this, car related content and content on my personal BMW E36, then please subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.